Before we get started, there will be spoilers for the Thousand Year Blood War arc of Bleach and for the light novel Can't Fear Your Own World in the video to come. The end of the Thousand Year Blood War arc left us with a lot of questions, including leaving the fates of several fan-favourite characters up in the air completely. To this day, I wish Kubo had included even just a couple of pages in the epilogue to address everyone's whereabouts, but it wasn't to be. And in fact, I'm now hoping that the anime can amend that somewhat by the time we get there. When it comes to the Vizard and their respective storylines and endings, well, it's a bit all over the place, as is to be expected when dealing with such a disparate group of characters. But today, we're going to have a bit of a refresher. What's the current status of each member of the Vizard in the wake of the Quincy Blood War? What role did they each play, if any, in Can't Fear Your Own World, and how are they being set up for a potential return in a possible Hell arc? Of course, Shinji, Rose, and Kensei were reintegrated back into the Gotei 13 in the wake of Aizen's defeat, and we later learned that Mashiro joined them as well. While the Vizard who remained in Karakura Town worked to prevent the collapse of the worlds, before later participating in the battle against the Quincy's too. And as of the anime, the entire gang has been reunited for the first time since the fake Karakura Town arc, as they prepare to battle Gerard Valkyrie. Since there's 8 characters to go over here today, we won't be doing a deep dive play-by-play of everything they've done in the months and years since, but at the very least, we can catch up with these holified Shinigami and see what sort of an impact they've had, if any, following the war, what kind of changes they've undergone. And let's face it, the Vizard didn't have the best time of it during the Thousand Year Blood War arc, so here's hoping the future looks a little brighter for them. Now, before we get started, I won't bore you with this for too long, but I'm sure you've heard by now from your favourite creators that yes, something weird is going on at the moment with YouTube views, and I have been affected by this too. So an amazing way to help continue to support the channel is by hitting subscribe down below, maybe hitting the bell icon too, to continue to be notified of videos when they go live. And YouTube's also introduced yet another feature. This one apparently designed to help channels, specifically like mine, with fewer than 500,000 subs, called the hype button. I'm not going to ask you to do this in every single video, but if you happen to really enjoy a particular video of mine, or think it's worth hyping up, that it's worth a little more recognition, then please consider that as well. I think there's a new button, but to be honest, I really have no idea. If you see it and you think the video is worth it, then please consider doing so. Right, but with that, let's move on to the meat of the video itself. And let's start with the de facto leader of the Vizard, Shinji Hirako. Having chosen to return to the Gotei 13, taking up his former position as the captain of the 5th Division in the wake of the battle with Aizen, Shinji took part in the Quincy Blood War. Now, of all the Vizard present, despite not really achieving anything major, I think Shinji definitely has the most, I guess you could call it, pronounced role throughout the battle, and as of the anime may still yet surprise us as he prepares to take on Gerard Valkyrie in the final showdown. In the immediate aftermath of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, Shinji is perhaps the Vizard with the biggest role to play in the light novel Can't Fear Your Own World, being one of the first Shinigami to meet Hikone, the manufactured child who is to become the new Soul King, as part of Tokinada's master plan. After finding himself caught up in not only Grimjo's rampage as the Espada battles his former replacement, the now resurrected Lupi, but also the appearance of Ikomikidomoe, Hikone's monstrous hollow Zanpakuto, Shinji is eventually summoned to Kukaku's residence along with much of the upper echelon of the Gotei 13 and a mix of their temporary allies. When their forces converge on the Valley of Screams to find Tokinada, Ikomikidomoe conjures up a huge army of hollows which descend upon the Shinigami. Finally, getting his moment in the spotlight, Shinji stays behind to allow the others to continue onwards, facing off against the entire onslaught of Hollows himself. Although the Hollows seemingly overwhelm Shinji's Sakanade, he eventually lures them even further away from the rest of his allies, before at last activating his bankai, Sakashima Yokoshima Happo Fusagari, which reverses the Hollow's allegiance and targets, forcing them to turn on each other instead. This was the first time Shinji's bankai had ever been revealed, and Kubo accompanied it with an official sketch depicting the bankai's appearance. And the bankai would then later appear in both a coloured and animated capacity in the mobile game Bleach Brave Souls as part of its collaboration with the light novel. And then, of course, a few years later, the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime would make good on this reveal by also showcasing Shinji's bankai in the anime in a brand new way, something that never happened in the manga, as he uses it against an entire squadron of soldat. 10 years after the end of Can't Fear Your Own World, we arrive at chapter 685 of the manga, and the epilogue of the story. Shinji, now with a frankly even weirder fringe that appears to be split in two, watches as the 11th Division rushes past them, apparently lost on the way to Rukia's inauguration ceremony. As Hinamori goes to intercept them, Shinji orders her not to before she questions his odd choice of captain's orders. As with the rest of the captains, Shinji is then present as Rukia makes her first appearance as the new captain of the 13th Division. Then, after the epilogue, we have the Hell chapter, and potentially the start of a new arc, though of course famously we're still waiting on that. Although Shinji is present here, he and many of the captains don't have a lot to do just yet. Shinji and Momo receive Mayuri's hologram informing them of the start of the Konso Reisai preparations. Later, when Shinji gathers in front of Ukitake's grave along with the other captains, they are surprised to see strange, inky black droplets forming in the sky as Kyoraku reveals it is phosphoplasm from hell. And that's it so far for Shinji's post-Thousand Year Blood War arc appearances. As you can see, he gets a decent amount to do, really the bulk of it thanks to Can't Fear Your Own World, which honestly feels like it was written as a response, a direct response to how Shinji was handled in the Thousand Year Blood War arc, as if to be the antithesis of his disappointing non-performance during the Quincy Blood War. Shinji himself even has a quote in Can't Fear Your Own World, essentially addressing the fact that he was useless, for lack of a better word, against the Quincy. Up next, we have the current captain of the 3rd Division, Rojuro Rose Otoribashi, who also rejoined the Gotei 13 in the wake of Aizen's defeat. Now, during the Quincy Blood War, Rose releases his bankai for the first time against Masked Demasculine, only to be brutally defeated and later zombified. However, alongside Kensei, who was also zombified, Rose has been cured of his zombification in the anime and has joined forces with the rest of the Vizard to take on Gerard Valkyrie as of the final episode of Core 3 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime. What his fate will be, we're not sure, but as with all the Vizard, I can't say I'm expecting too much. I just hope, as he's my favourite Vizard, that he actually gets the chance to do something. At the very least, Rose was the Vizard who got to reveal not only their resurrection but their team-up, striking Gerard in the face out of the blue with his Shikai Kinshara, quoting that it was a miracle that Gerard was unable to kill Hinamori before casting aside his captain's Hayori, joining the rest of his allies, and donning his hollow mask in preparation for the showdown. Now sadly, for whatever reason, Rose just isn't present in Can't Fear Your Own World, despite the Gotei 13 facing a threat that you would think requires their collective attention. And what's even weirder is that Rose is really the only captain that doesn't make an appearance, at least as far as I can remember off the top of my head. Even the other two Vizard captains have somewhat prominent appearances throughout the light novels. Once we skip ahead 10 years to chapter 685 and the epilogue of the manga, well, Rose doesn't get much to do here either. In the manga, his appearance at Rukia's inauguration was the first confirmation we'd actually had of his de-zombification. But of course in the anime it looks like he'll have a little more to do, and hopefully a more proper and thorough sense of closure. And finally, in the Hell chapter, Rose is shown gathering with the other captains in front of Ukitake's grave. I don't know what Kubo has against Rose, but he's also one of the only captains who isn't shown receiving Mayuri's hologram, and so is only seen very briefly in the chapter. I have to assume this is because Kubo didn't want to spoil Izuru's new appearance, perhaps? The fact that he was actually still around as the vice captain, although since he appeared in chapter 654, I kind of feel like the cat was already out of the bag anyway. That being said, when Rose does appear at the captain's gathering, we can just about make out his pretty dramatic new appearance. He's now wearing a cropped Haori that he kind of instead wears like a little waistcoat. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this look just yet. I think we need a slightly better look at it, though. I do like the more extravagant frills that we can see in the supplementary character sketch that Kubo provided. Anyway, that's it for Rose's appearances in the aftermath of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Simply put, there's not too much to write home about. The captain of the 9th Division, Kensei Mugaruma, undergoes a similar trajectory to Rose in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. After attempting to teach Hisagi bankai, Kensei is savagely beaten by Masked Emasculine before again being zombified. Like with Rose, however, Kensei has returned, resurrected thanks to Mayuri, and is now preparing to fight Gerard as of the anime. Perhaps unsurprisingly, due to both Hisagi's position as the light novel's main character and the prevalence of Tosen's backstory as a driver of the plot, Kensei does actually have a role to play in Can't For Your Own World, albeit a fairly small one. Interestingly, the light novel treats us to a flashback, giving us a more detailed look at Hisagi's training with Kensei and Mashiro between invasions, where Kensei was attempting to help Hisagi unlock his bankai in his fairly trademark harsh and unforgiving way. Kensei even goes so far as to conjure his hollow mask to battle Hisagi, pushing him to abandon his fear in the hopes of making him stronger than ever, directly contrasting Hisagi's former captain's own beliefs. Obviously, it would have been great to see this in the manga, but supplementary material like this is often at its best when fleshing out moments from the manga that were unfortunately missed out on or skipped over for whatever reason. Later, when the Shinigami discover Karakura Town has been sealed off using a mysterious barrier, Kensei reveals that he spoke to Love via the Soul Pager, and that Hachi is trying to break the barrier from the outside. When it comes to the final showdown with Tokinada, Kensei is one of the first to prepare for battle, and during the fighting, Kensei activates his bankai, Tekken Tachikaze, and lands a direct hit on Tokinada, which seriously injures the villain. As Kensei continues to fight, he later realizes as he laments being unable to teach Hisagi bankai, that Hisagi has somehow managed to survive numerous near-death experiences, and that it must be related to his Zanpakuto Kazushini, which nicely foreshadows the reveal of Kazushini's true hidden ability. Later, as we flash forward to chapter 685, again, like with Rose, this was originally our first look in the manga at the de-zombified Kensei in action. As the newly promoted Iba meets up with both the 9th and the 10th divisions on their way to Rukia's inauguration, Kensei joins in as Rangiku and Hitsugaya mock Hisagi over supposedly learning bankai, yet none of them have ever actually seen it. Later, Kensei is present as Rukia arrives to her ceremony. Following that, in the Hell chapter, Kensei is briefly seen in his company barracks as they receive Mayuri's message and the mad scientist attempts to blast Hisagi. Kensei is also present at Ukitake's grave as the Konso Reisai begins, only to witness the appearance of the phosphoplasm from Hell. So again, not too much going on, but Kensei does get a nice supporting role in Can't For Your Own World to tie into the fact that Hisagi is the novel's main character, and their shared history with Tosen also comes into play here, in the kind of way that I always anticipated it would in the manga, only for it to never really happen. Mashiro Kuna is perhaps the weirdest member of the Vizard in terms of her ongoing role in the story. After appearing to help Hisagi learn bankai during the break between invasions, Mashiro completely vanishes from the story kind of just like that. Perhaps one of the clearest examples ever of Kubo's straight up forgetting about a character entirely. The supplementary novels reveal that Mashiro was sent to protect the students of the Shino Academy during the Quincy Blood War, which would have been wonderful to see, but alas. The Thousand Year Blood War arc anime is at least going some way to rectifying this issue somewhat, with Mashiro returning to head to Varvelt with the other Gotei 13 members and is now preparing to face Gerard with her fellow Vizard. And she seemed to be wielding her Zanpakuto, just like she was when she first appeared in the fake Karakura Town arc, and just like in that arc, I doubt we'll actually see her use it, but I could be wrong. Mashiro does briefly reappear in Can't Fear Your Own World, which is also, I think, where it's revealed that her sister is Nico Kuna from the R&D department. Again, as with Kensei, we get a flashback that shows us Mashiro helping to train Hisagi between invasions, but she isn't really involved much beyond that. When it comes to the epilogue of the story, well, again, Kubo had seemingly totally forgotten about Mashiro at this point, despite her position as the so-called super vice captain of Squad 9. She doesn't appear at all in the penultimate chapter of the story. And yes, this extends to the Hell chapter as well. While we get to see both Kensei and Hisagi in the 9th Division barracks, Mashiro is nowhere to be found. So yeah, Mashiro is definitely given the short straw here, but again, I am hopeful that the anime will at least make something of her now that she's joined her comrades for the final showdown. But with that, we now move on to the Vizard who didn't return to the Gotei 13 after Aizen's defeat, and instead remained in Karakura Town, starting with Lisa Yadomaru, who as of the end of the Quincy Blood War has in fact become the new captain of the 8th Division, shrinking the number of Vizard choosing to remain behind in the human world even further. Lisa, along with the other Karakura Town Vizard, briefly engages Gerard during the Varvelt arc, but is immediately defeated in a single hit by the giant Quincy. As of the anime, again, that moment has been written out of the story completely, thankfully, and instead, Lisa dons her hollow mask and joins her fellow Vizard in preparation for what I'm hoping will be a true fight. I guess it's a possibility that it hasn't been written out entirely. Perhaps the anime version of Gerard versus the Vizard could still end after a lengthy extension to the battle with the scene from the manga, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. As is the case with most of the Vizard left in the human world, Lisa doesn't really play a role in Can't Fear Your Own World at all, as the story is almost entirely centered around the Gotei 13 and its inner workings. That being said, considering the influence of both Fullbringers and the new Cult of Execution, it definitely feels like there could have been something for Lisa and the others to do here, but alas. As we skip forward 10 years, Lisa has now rejoined the Gotei 13, becoming the new captain of the 8th Division, taking over from her former captain from 100 years ago, Kyoraku Shunsui, who is the new captain commander. Lisa is present when Rukia is inaugurated as the new captain of the 13th Division, and we get a brief look at Lisa's new Gotei 13 uniform too, which according to Kubo is the kind of style that she's perpetuating throughout the entire division. When it comes to the Hell chapter, Lisa isn't seen much, but thanks to her now being a part of the Gotei 13, she does at least appear. Again, like Rose before her, she only appears at Ukitake's grave and witnesses the arrival of the phosphoplasm. That being said, the 8th Division in general is featured quite heavily here, as we meet Lisa's brand new vice captain, Yu Yayahara, when she battles the Hell Hollows in Karakura Town. However, one Vizard who is never likely to fully rejoin the Gotei 13 is the former vice captain of the 12th Division, Hiyori Sarugaki, who has remained with the crew residing in the human world. Still, when push comes to shove, Hiyori dons a Shihakusho in a show of solidarity, and in the manga attempts to distract Gerard with a triple Sero blast, only to be wiped out in a single swipe along with the rest of her allies. But again, the anime has seemingly rewritten her fate, at least for now, and now Hiyori stands with the other Vizards for one final battle. Unlike her Karakura Town contemporaries, Hiyori does actually appear in Can't Fear Your Own World, bringing several Shinigami to the Urahara shop as things start to take a turn for the worst in the human world too. Here, Hiyori witnesses Kisuke doing battle with Aura as the cult of execution surrounds the shop. And later, Tessai enlists Hiyori to help him open a Senkaimon, utilizing her hollow powers as a battery of sorts to enable them to break through the barrier that currently surrounds the town. As we skip forward to the manga epilogue, Hiyori makes a surprise cameo appearance at the very start of chapter 686 as she catches Kazui sneaking about the Vizard's warehouse. Interestingly, Hiyori is seen wearing a cap emblazoned with the logo of Ikumi Unagiya's shop, as she now works there as an employee, which I feel like would have been an interesting conversation to see play out. Surprisingly, Hiyori's affiliation with Ikumi is actually mentioned in Can't Fear Your Own World, implying that she's been working there for quite some time now. However, as she's not a member of the Gotei 13 currently, and let's face it, is unlikely to become one in the future, Hiyori doesn't make an appearance in the Hell chapter. Yet Kubo did reveal what is presumably some variation of her current outfit as part of the Bleach X calendar reveal. As Hiyori has historically been portrayed as the kind of second in command of the Vizard, although they don't really have a structured hierarchy in that sense, she's always likely to show up in the story when the Vizard are present. So if the human world continues to be involved in future conflicts, I'm sure we'll see Hiyori again. But no, it's very unlikely that she'd ever rejoin the Gotei 13, mostly because of the hurt and betrayal she feels at how they were treated and cast out 100 years ago, but also because I can't imagine her ever working under Mairi. The final two Vizard on the list have the least to do of any of them beyond the 1,000-Year Blood War arc so far. Like his fellow Vizard from the human world, Aikawa Love attempts to jump Gerard with both his Hollow Mask and Shikai active, even going so far as to use Hifuki no Kodzuchi, the same explosive ability that he tried to use against Stark. Unfortunately though, Love is swatted aside and taken out in a single move in the manga, whereas in the anime, again, he's here to fight the Goliath alongside his allies. Aside from a solitary mention by Kensei where he notes that he spoke to Love via the Soul Pager, Love doesn't play a role in Can't Fear Your Own World, and as a Vizard who remained in the human world, he also doesn't appear in any of the following material. He doesn't feature in the epilogue of the manga, nor in the Hell chapter either. So, to be honest, he could have disappeared off of the face of the earth following the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, except for the fact that he too received an updated design from Kubo thanks to the calendar reveal. And honestly, Love's new look is fantastic, and perhaps my favourite design this character has ever had. So here's hoping he does in fact show up again in the future and gets the chance to show it off. Regarding the anime, I've said it before that Love's Bankai feels like a pretty obvious candidate to be revealed in the final core, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Like Love, Hachigen Ushoda also doesn't have much of a role to play currently, which is a shame. He attempts to attack Gerard as well, being the only one of the four Vizard present to not summon in his Hollow Mask, but is instantly sent flying anyway after being faced with Gerard's colossal shield. And yet, in the anime, not only has Hachi conjured his mask, but he's also drawn his Zanpakuto, seemingly manifesting it within a Kido barrier, though I doubt we'll actually see him use it. More than anything, it feels like a direct callback to his appearance in the Fake Karakura Town arc, where he also called forth his Zanpakuto in the same way, before proceeding to not use it. Now, while Hachi doesn't have a role in Can't Fear Your Own World, he is mentioned when the Shinigami learn of the barrier surrounding Karakura Town, where it's revealed by Kensei that Hachi is currently busy trying to break the barrier open from the outside. Like Love before him, Hachi doesn't appear in either the manga epilogue or the Hell chapter, but he does get an updated look from Kubo as well, and again, like Love, I think this might be Hachi's coolest design yet. It feels so familiar, yet also a notable, stark departure from how Hachi used to look, and I really hope we get to see it in action in the future. If nothing else, the cap and beard combo is really badass. Alright, but that's it for the Vizard as far as what happens to each of them following the Thousand Year Blood War arc. For some of them, well, there's really not much to say, while others do get involved in the conflicts still to come. Meanwhile, with the Vizard returning in a big way thanks to the anime, I'm still holding out hope that they will continue to be incorporated into whatever story ideas Kubo might have for the future as well. But that's it for today's video, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you took something of value away from it as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about the Vizard's post-Thousand Year Blood War arc careers. Would you have liked to have seen more from them in the light novels Can't Fear Your Own World? What kind of a role do you think they could have played? And what kind of a role are you hoping to see from each of them if the Hell arc ever does actually happen? And finally, will Love reveal his bankai in the anime in this new fight with Gerard Valkyrie? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Alright guys, but as always, thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate the continued support, especially with YouTube really just being, frankly, incredibly weird and frustrating at the moment. But your support, you coming out and continuing to watch the videos, is essentially making all the difference in the world. So I can't emphasize that enough, and thank you so very much. Consider hitting subscribe if you did enjoy today's video. Check out my other channel, Mr. Tomo Talks Games, as I try to get that one off the ground. I've got a new approach to the channel coming very soon. Really, the last video to be uploaded is going to be the last video in that kind of style. I'm aiming for something more satisfying and more engaging for myself personally, to channel that which I love to make more than I am doing currently. So we'll have to see, but for now I really appreciate your continued show of support, and that goes doubly so for my wonderful supporters over on Patreon, whose support does make more difference, frankly, than ever with YouTube going the way it appears to be going at the moment, not just for me, but for many creators across the board. Consider supporting me over on Patreon if you want to take that extra step, if you do like what I do here and you think it's worth that extra support for as little as $2 a month. You can get these videos completely free of YouTube ads over on Patreon, so again, your support is massively appreciated, and a huge thank you, and a massive shout out goes out to each and every one of you. It does mean so very much. Alright guys, until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.